Well, we're excited about this. The best is yet to come. We're going to continue working really hard to increase mobility, reduce congestion, make sure Florida continue to lead the way. It's important for quality of life. It's also important for our continued economic vitality. And I think it's going to be even more challenge. We've got a new theme park that's going to be opening in May, Epic Universe, which is going to be a huge deal for this region and for the state of Florida. And it's been interesting. I mean, I remember when they announced it, and you kind of think about, oh, man, there's going to be some economic impact. Then you actually see it come to fruition. Pretty incredible project, and I think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be beating down the doors to want to go to Epic Universe over at Universal, which is really, really good. Now, I just want to say one thing. So, you know, when you're in this business, you know, you get used to, you know, a lot of baseless attacks. That just goes with the territory. But I do think it's really sad to see manufactured smears against the First Lady and the program that's Hope Florida. Hope Florida is actually an example of government succeeding in lifting people up. And how many examples do we have of that happening? Almost never. But the inside of Hope Florida didn't ask for any money for it for the legislature, didn't need any new policy, but just through the First Lady's initiative that we are going to reimagine the way we provide services to those in need. And so instead of the job of somebody working in these agencies to just try to get people on as many government programs as possible and keep them on indefinitely, we're transforming the role to be a hope navigator, where the job of government is to link those people in need to all the wonderful resources that we have throughout our Florida communities. So we've enlisted the faith-based community, we've enlisted charitable organizations, we've enlisted businesses, and we've enlisted individual volunteers who answer the call when somebody comes in need. The needs go into a care portal, and all of a sudden you have a single mom that doesn't have a place to stay. It's not the bureaucracy that's going to lift her up. It's the church that comes over or the charity that comes over to do that. And what are the results since this has been implemented? We've gotten 30,000 people off welfare and saved the state of Florida $100 million. And so that's a great success story. Now, that's a success story that threatens some people. That's a success story that's going to invite attacks because people have their own political agenda. And I got to tell you, I'm used to the baseless smears from liberal media. I'm used to the baseless smears from Democrats. I've been dealing with it for over 6 years. It's par for the course. But I think now we have Republican leadership in the Florida House joining with liberal media and joining with Democrats to launch baseless smears against Hope Florida and by extension myself and the First Lady. Let me tell you something. None of these Republican leaders got elected on the platform that they were going to launch baseless attacks against the governor and First Lady. That is not why they got elected. Had they run on that, they would have lost their primaries. They would never have been elected in the first place. No, they were elected to continue our success in Florida, to build off the great achievements of the last 6 years. They were elected to cut property taxes, which they refused to do. They were elected to help alleviate and end the condo crisis, which the Florida House has refused to do. They were elected to continue our Florida First agenda. And what are they doing with their actions? Not only are they trying to sabotage that agenda, but they are stabbing the voters in the back with their behavior. Shame on you in the Florida House and your terrible behavior and leadership. Questions? Yes. So the question is about President Trump's plan to dismantle the FEMA bureaucracy and empower the states. Excuse me. So I think the media is not honest about this, because he is going to block grant the money to the states. And so we're not going to be left in the cold. But I can tell you that the FEMA bureaucracy is an impediment to disaster recovery. It is not doing a good job. Florida, we don't rely for preparation and immediate response. We don't rely on FEMA. We do it. We lead. We got local partners. We got the best emergency management team from the local, state level, anywhere in the country, bar none, not even close. FEMA, who the hell else could rebuild the bridge in 6 days, 3 days? 3 days was the bridge. So, I mean, of course, we've got that. But, and so that's just how we roll. Now, there are programs on the back end of a storm, individual assistance, block grants, things like that, that really paralyzes the recovery because of the bureaucracy. So we'd be better off getting the block grant and then letting the states administer based on the needs that we have. But too much of this gets hung up in bureaucracy. Our mantra in Florida has been, don't let the bureaucracy grind you down. Make sure that you're responding very quickly. There are times when we spend money to prepare where we don't end up needing some of the preparation. FEMA, you can't get reimbursed. I mean, for example, Hurricane Helene. We had a lot of fuel trucks ready to go in case we had fuel knocked out. It didn't really happen, right? And so we used some, but then the rest, we stored or did what we needed to. But then Milton came, and we had the fuel contracts. Well, guess what? It knocked out for a time the Port of Tampa and the port in Bradenton, and so that interrupted the fuel coming in. So we set up gas stations around the Tampa Bay area with our trucks. People could go for free to get them through that 3 or 4 day period as the supply ramped back up. So we do these things. We're nimble, we're quick, we adjust. So empower the states. Give us the resources, and we don't need necessarily the federal government to be involved at all. Now, look, will we have maybe Coast Guard supplement some of our rescue? Yeah, we probably will call on that. But by and large, this is a local and state-driven process. We have the Florida State Guard, the Florida National Guard, Florida Highway Patrol, our sheriff's departments, our police departments, Fish and Wildlife, Florida Department of Law Enforcement. All these people, do a great job. Even the urban search and rescue teams, those are ostensibly under the banner of DHS, but they're basically local fire departments that then get federalized. So those are our people anyways, especially the teams 1 and 2, and we've got folks in Central Florida that do it. So block granting that money to the state of Florida, we will be able to respond more appropriately. Now, some have said, well, what if they don't block grant any money? What if they just get out of disaster management and just say the states must fend for themselves? Well, listen, if that happens, we've got a big surplus. We would have to make adjustments to how we approach things, but I can do that. Just let me know what's in the best interest of the United States. And if it is, the Florida will respond very, very appropriately. But that would obviously require us to change a little bit about what we're doing. But I don't anticipate that being the case. I think what you're going to see is you're going to see a block grant of money, maybe not this hurricane season, but maybe in time for next, bypassing the bureaucracy and the red tape, and then let us go ahead and get the job done for our people. Yes. So the question is there any updates regarding the grand jury investigation into State Attorney Monique Worrell? And my answer is I'm not privy to what goes on in grand jury investigations. So I'm not the right guy to ask. Those are secret investigations. That was not an investigation that I am leading. I can call for the Florida Supreme Court to certify statewide grand juries, but that's the extent, of my authority that I've exercised. Now, with respect to Monique Worrell, as you recall, I suspended her from office because she was not enforcing the laws as they are written on the book. She had her own agenda, and that was putting the people at Central Florida at risk. I think what happened was she was able to delay this and never went in front of the Florida Senate, where I think they would have found her guilty and removed her permanently. And so she was able to kind of manipulate that. Obviously, it's a very Democrat area, so when you run as a Dem here, you have an advantage. But I will say this. You have a responsibility to faithfully execute the laws of the state of Florida. You do not have the ability to pick and choose which laws you're going to enforce. You don't have the ability or the authority to let the inmates run the asylum. So I know the Attorney General is keeping a close eye on what she's doing. That could end up on my desk if there's proof that somebody is neglecting their duties. or satisfying one of the other provisions of the Florida Constitution, then obviously I could act again. But that's separate from any type of grand jury, and those grand juries are outside my purview. So, one, I have no comment on it. But two, even if I knew anything, it wouldn't be appropriate. But two, I don't know anything because it's not something that I have control over. All right, thanks, everybody. God bless you.